the rebirth of the nation of Israel is the greatest miracle of the 20th century. This is what I call foolproof prophecy. You know what I mean by that? It means you'd have to be a fool to miss it. There are other people that try to read into prophecies and they try to, ooh, this means this and ooh, that means that, and they come 20 years later recognize they were totally wrong. One thing you can't miss: the rebirth of the nation of Israel was the most forecasted Old Testament reality that God said would absolutely, he said, as truly as I live, will I bring the people of Israel back to the land, and you will once again live in your homeland. Now think about it. When Israel was destroyed as a nation, if you were to go back to 1945, it's hard for us because we know Israel now exists as a nation. But if you were to go back to 1945 and believe that she could once again become a nation, you would think that it was an impossibility. How could this happen? God prophesied through Isaiah 754 years before Jesus would ever be born. Isaiah said, can a nation be born in a day? Who has ever heard such a thing? Who has ever understood such a thing? But yet, on May 14th, 1948, Israel was reborn as a nation. You and I must recognize how great a miracle that was, because there were two things that led up to the rebuilding of the nation of Israel. One was this: there was a man named Chem Weizmann. He was a Russian-born Jew. He was a brilliant chemist who he immigrated from Russia to Britain. And during the time of World War II, you see, gunpowder back then, they used to put acetone in the gunpowder because it stopped the gunpowder from smoking when you fired a gun, so that the guys that were pointing the trigger could see what was coming and also hide where people were firing from, that when there was no smoke coming from the pistols. But when Britain went to war against Germany, the problem was this: acetone was bought from Germany in that time. And so the nation was in turmoil. And so what the nation of Britain did was set up Mr. Weizmann in an old distillery and made a chemist lab for him. And he brilliantly created synthetic acetone that helped Britain win the war. And he gained the favor of the British crown. He was also the leader of the Zionist nation. And when the Queen of England said to him, "What would you want a grateful nation to do for you?" He said that my people would once again have a nation to live in. That's the first thing that occurred. But secondly, after World War II, when the release of the death camps, when all the world was faced with the horror of the annihilation of over 6 million Jews at the hands of the criminals, the nation of Germany and Nazis and all their aligned alliances. What they did through that time brought the sympathy of the world. And therefore, they brought about the unity of the UN to grant a charter to Israel to inhabit the land of Palestine as their nation once again.